disciples, and welcome to Everyday Hope, your daily inspiration from the Word of God. And today is our Bible study. Before I get started, Jake, can you see if I'm framed? Can you see me? Alright. Cool, so last week was chapter 5, we're on chapter 6, and let's take a review of last week. And for those of you just joining us for the first time, we are in the Story for Kids. It's a great starting point for those not familiar with the Bible. So instead of the Bible and chapters and verses, what the story does is there's a children's version, a kid's version, a teenage version, and an adult version, and it puts the Bible in chapter book form to make it easier to read through and understand, especially for our generations. So we chose the kids version to have a starting point to get familiar with the stories, to understand them at their base. And then as we grow, we'll get more into for adults, the Bible for our Bible studies, and we also have another project we're working on that we're really excited about. But this is a great starting point for anybody who just isn't familiar with the Bible, has never read it. It's just a great starting point. This comes from the Word of God. They stay true to the Bible, the NIV version, so I recommend it to anyone. And of course, we're always up for buying anybody a copy and sending it to them free of charge who would like it. So last week was chapter 5, New Rules. And with chapter 5, New Rules, it introduced us to the Ten Commandments. And if you remember last week, I had my son with me, and he asked me what it was to be adulterous, and we almost had the version of Beanstalk a little too young, thank goodness. You think being the kids version, it would have skipped that, but no. But we went over the Ten Commandments and what it says, and we'll just review those. And as trivia, I want you guys to think about how many of the Ten Commandments can you name? I'll give you guys a minute to try that out. How many of the Ten Commandments can you name? So if I had to, I don't think I can name them all, but I will try. Even being in a pastoral role, memorization is not my thing. I don't have a keen memory. I don't have the best memory. I'll be completely honest. Gods before me or any false idols. God says, do not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. I'm missing quite a few, huh, guys? You should probably call me out right now. I can see you. Honor your father and mother. Yeah, I cheated a little bit. Give me a break. But that's just the ones I can think of. Oh, I got one more without cheating. Keep the Sabbath. I remember that as being one as well. So we want to try to keep all the commandments. And just to talk about something real quick, a lot of people wonder, well, there's 613 laws, in case you didn't know, that make up the Torah. And are we called to keep all of those? Because there's some that say don't trim your hair or trim your beard, don't do this, and a lot of things that we do, like eat pork, etc., etc. Well, Jesus came to fulfill the law, so we are not tied to the law anymore. Also, the law was made for the Israelites and the Hebrew people in particular. Now, does that mean that we don't keep any of the laws? Not necessarily. We're called to keep the commandments that Jesus gave us, to love one another, to love God with all our hearts, all our minds, all our bodies, all our souls, to do those things. And to do those things, these 10 commandments you absolutely have to keep. If you were to break any of these, you would be dishonoring either God and not loving Him, or dishonoring your neighbor and not loving them. So those are the ones that we have to focus on and keep true. Absolutely. So let's review some of those. So let's see. Do not put any other gods in place of me. Do not make statues of gods that look anything like in the sky, of the earth, or in the waters. Do not bow down to them. Do not worship them. I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Do not misuse the name of the Lord your God. And I should remember that one, because that's a big one in my household. We will not say, oh my G word, you will, amuse me. Yeah, I sound childish saying G word, but we actually will not use the G word in a way that dishonors God. We won't use His name as just a verb or an adjective or a replacement noun. We won't do that with His name. We want to honor His name. We don't want to dishonor, disgrace in a way by using it in a way that isn't, referring to how holy, how awesome He is, talking to Him. We don't just want to use His name to use it or use it in vain. I know it's a hard habit to break, and you hear it. You hear it on kids shows. You hear it on TV. You hear it on the radio. You hear it in any mall you walk in, any store. But in our house in particular, we realized that we're doing this, and when I was truly saved, I said, you know what? This is a habit we're going to break. I feel called. We're going to break this habit. We're going to replace that word. And so I Googled some alternatives, but what we came to is, if we have to say, oh my, we'll say, oh my goodness gracious, and things like that. Oh my gosh, that's a replacement, but I feel like gosh was just so close, and we try to avoid that one as well. Scold my kids for using that one, but I'll deter them from it. But oh my goodness is what we try to switch over to, so feel free to use that. Alright, remember to keep the Sabbath day holy. Josh, should we still keep the Sabbath day holy as they did? I have been torn this myself. I don't want to give you guys a definite answer because it's something I've been praying about. But I think absolutely there should be a day in your week, typically Sundays, that you spend in worship with God, that other things don't take the priority. You spend that day worshiping God, you go to church, you sing songs, you go home, read your Bible. You just have a day that you really single out to just truly worship God. Yeah, we should be with Him every day, like we talked about. God doesn't want to be a parent that just has custody on Sundays for an hour. He wants full custody, but give Him all of your attention one day. Don't go to the store. Don't go shopping. I know it's hard. Every occasional we have to make a quick run to the grocery store or something, but we try to avoid shopping, avoid going places on Sundays, and just dedicate that to God. Honor your father and mother. That's important. Even if you don't have good parents, God didn't call us to be mean to those. He called us to honor them. He called us to turn the other cheek. No matter what your circumstance with your parents are, give them honor and praise. Do not commit murder. Obvious. You're really not loving somebody if you're killing them, right? Do not commit adultery. Obvious one. It's very obvious in the Bible, man. Love and holy matrimony, marriage is supposed to happen one time. And sex is supposed to happen only after marriage. So it should only be happening in that covenant of marriage from one male to one female, and done to the holy matrimony where they love each other and use that love, and they have sex and they have babies. And that's such a hard one in this generation, because I know very few people wait, and it's really difficult. There's a lot of pressure in our time, but God calls us to wait, and He doesn't call us to wait because it harms us or because He's a God of no fun. He says that because it'll be so much more special, so much better to wait for that person. Do not steal. Do not love them for stealing. If you don't take without earning. Don't give false witness against your neighbor. Don't give false testimony against people. Don't lie about people. Don't say somebody did something when they didn't, etc. Do not long for anything that belongs to your neighbor. Don't live envious, jealous lives. Count your blessings. One thing we talk about in our sermons is count your blessings. Nobody ever gained anything from blowing out somebody else's candle, so you don't want to take away from somebody else. Hi, Mecca. Alright, without further ado, as we reviewed the Ten Commandments, there's not a whole lot of questions besides what were they, so let's get into chapter 6, wandering. Every time the Israelites camped in a new place, Moses set up a special tent called the Tent of Meeting, where God would come to talk to them. The Israelites would go to the tent and ask Moses what God wanted them to do. While the Israelites were camping close to the Promised Land, God had a very exciting message for Moses. Here's what happened. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Send some men to check out the land of Canaan. I am giving it to the people of Israel. Send one leader from each of Israel's tribes." So Moses sent them out. He said, "See what the land is like. See whether the people who live there are strong or weak. See whether they are few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or is it bad? What kind of town do they live in? Do towns have high walls around them or not? How is the soil? Is it rich land or is it poor land? Are there trees or are there none? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land." It was the season for the first ripe grapes. So the men went up to check out the land. The men came to the valley of Eshcol, where they cut off a branch that had a single bunch of grapes on it. Two of them carried it on a pole between them. They had carried some grains of figs along with it. At the end of 40 days, the men returned from checking out the land. The men came back to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel. Their men reported to Moses and Aaron and all the people. They showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses their report. They said, "We went into the land you sent us to. It really does have plenty of milk and honey, as God had promised. Here's some of the fruit of the land. But the people who live there are powerful. Their cities have high walls around them, and they are very large." Then Caleb interrupted the men who were speaking to Moses. He said, "We should go up and take the land. We can most certainly do it." But the men who had gone up with them spoke. They said, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." Then the men spread a bad report on the land among the people of Israel. They said, "The land we checked out destroys those who live in it. All the people we saw there are very big and very tall. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and that's how we seemed to them." That night, all the people in the community raised their voices. They sobbed out loud. The people of Israel spoke out against Moses and Aaron. The whole community said to them, "We wish we had died in Egypt or even in the desert. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land? We're going to be killed with the sword. Our enemies will capture our wives and children. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt?" They said to one another. "We should choose another leader. We should go back to Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell with their faces to the ground. They did it in front of the whole community of Israel that was gathered there. Feel free to paint, guys. I don't want to stop you. Joshua and Caleb spoke to the whole community of Israel. They said, "We passed through the land and checked it out. It's very good. If the Lord is pleased with us, He'll lead us into the land. It's a land that has plenty of milk and honey. He will give it to us. But don't refuse to obey Him, and don't be afraid of the people of the land. We will swallow them up. The Lord is with us, so nothing can save them. Do not be afraid of them." The people listened to the people listened to the complaining spies instead of trusting God to protect them and give them to the land that God had promised them. God was very, very angry. God decided to punish them for doubting He could defeat the people in Canaan. He said only Joshua and Caleb would enter the promised land. All the other adults wouldn't get to live there, but their children would. So for 40 years as punishment for not trusting God, the Israelites had to wander around the desert. Now this seems harsh. God chose 40 years because for 40 days they got to go into the land. So 40 days equals 40 years of punishment. Next, Caleb and Joshua got to see the land. Why? Because they did not doubt God. And because they didn't doubt God, they got to go into the promised land. So that's why they got to see it. So this punishment seems harsh, but this isn't the first time we've heard of the Israelites doubting God. They constantly say, "Oh, I wish we died in Egypt. I wish we would have stayed there. I wish. And they keep doubting God. But every time they do, God shows His power, His mercy, His grace, and that He is able to deliver them time and time again. Whether it's calling for meat, whether it's food, whether it's water, whether it's clothing, or whether it's defeating their enemies. God has proven Himself, but they continue to doubt, and they continue to cower. They continue to get absorbed with the world. And they decided to believe rumors instead of trusting God. They heard these people say they're big. Don't listen to them. This ghost story just grew and fear overtook them. And that happens to a lot of us. We let fear overtake us. But don't let what man says drown out the voice of God. Pray, go to Him first, and don't believe and put your faith in man or in the words of man. Know that what God says is true, and that's that all things can be accomplished with Him. So continue reading. The people didn't have any water, so they gathered together to oppose Moses and Aaron. Again, same story, different chapter. They argued with Moses. They said, "We wish we had died with our people in Egypt, that we had been dead in front of the Lord. Why do you bring us, Lord, the Lord's people, into the desert? We and our livestock will die here. Why did you bring us out of Egypt? Why did you bring us to this terrible place? It doesn't have any grain or figs. It doesn't have any grapes or pomegranates. There isn't even water for us to drink." So again, they're moaning, they're groaning. Obviously, these people don't deserve to go to the promised land. It seems harsh for me to say that, but it's true. It's especially true if God determined it Himself. They just don't learn their lesson to just trust God. So, Moses and Aaron left the people. They went up to the entrance of the tent of meeting. There they fell on their faces to the ground. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Get your wooden staff. You and your brother Aaron gather the people together. Then speak to that rock while everyone is watching. It'll pour out water. You'll bring water out of the rock for the community, and they and their livestock can drink it." So Moses took the wooden staff from the tent. He did just as the Lord had commanded him. He and Aaron gathered the people together in front of the rock. Moses said to them, "Listen, you who refuse to obey, do we have to bring water out of this rock for you?" Then Moses raised his arm. He hit the rock twice with his staff. Water poured out, and the people and their livestock drank it. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "You did not trust me enough to honor me. You did not honor me as the holy God in front of the people of Israel. So you will not bring this community into the land I am giving them." The Israelites continued to wander in the desert. They complained about the food. They challenged their leaders. They begged for water. They faced poisonous snakes, and they fought battles with kings. Every time something happened, God saved His people. He used the 40 years in the desert to teach the Israelites to trust Him and follow His rules. The Israelites promised to obey God, and they trusted Him instead of complaining. The people were almost ready to enter the promised land. But before they entered Canaan, Moses died. The Israelites were very sad to lose their leader. God buried Moses himself on top of Mount Sinai. Since then, Israel had never had a prophet like Moses. The Lord knew him face to face. Moses did many miraculous signs and wonders. The Lord had sent him to do them in Egypt. Moses did them against Pharaoh, against all the officials, against his whole land. No one had ever had the mighty power Moses had. No one has ever done the wonderful acts he did in the sight of all the people of Israel. So what can we learn from this story? To trust God despite what your circumstances may seem. Whether you're wandering in the desert, whether you just need water to drink, a place to live, whether somebody's opposing you, or you seem to be in impossible circumstances, financially, with bullies, with others, whatever it could be, don't lose hope. Trust that all things can be accomplished with God, and that there's always a purpose in His plan. His plan for us will always be greater than our plans for ourselves. Put your trust in Him. Don't complain, but tell God that His will be done, not ours. And that trust in God is what will separate us from being like the Israelites, who had to spend 40 years wandering in the desert to learn that they need to trust God and they need to obey Him. Like John says, faith without deeds is dead. We need to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk and show that we trust God and put our faith in Him. So let us be like the people who trust God. Let us be like the end of the 40 years and not have to do that kind of wandering, to know that God's in control of everything, no matter what it is. So as always, you guys, thanks for reading with me. I look forward to next week as we get into chapter 7 and we finally get into the promised land despite Moses being dead. Joshua takes the reins, becomes a powerful leader, and the greatest part is it's almost a book of failure, but they end up being delivered because God always delivers His people. We can always put our trust in Him, and again, all things can be accomplished with God. The next week we'll get into that. We'll do a review as always, get some more trivia. I should be back on the couch. I'm at my dad's house. We're going to paint some walls, getting things ready as we make some changes here and help him out. So, sorry for doing this on the go this week, but I appreciate you guys being flexible and being with me. And as always, never lose hope. You don't know what tomorrow may bring. I'll see you guys next week.